Hey guys, welcome to the Bill Martinez Show. My name is Bill, and on today's episode, it's just going to be myself. No guests, no one else, just myself. And I was asked an interesting question not too long ago, and let me preface this by saying in a lot of circles that I'm around, over time, I tend to get people to, and I'm not saying this to brag or whatever, I'm just saying this as a repeated history that I've had. I tend to get asked certain questions. People, for some reason, feel comfortable enough to ask me certain things that they maybe are dealing with, maybe are struggling with, whatever, certain things that they feel comfortable enough to talk to me about. And one of my goals as a person in general is is to come across, or to be, I should say, to be non-judgmental, if that makes sense. And the reason why that's one of my goals is because I want to have genuine connections, genuine relationships with people. I want to get to know people from who they are. I don't want them to wear this kind of filter or mask to try to impress me, or um to kind of hide themselves, or to kind of hide some insecurity that they have. I want people to just be real with me, to just be honest with me, to just be genuine with me. And years ago, I made it I became intentional in the relationships that I had moving forward. Whether it's, and when I say relationships, don't think I mean like on a romantic sense, even sure that's part of the equation too. But more than anything else, friendships or connections or social settings, things like that. I've made it a goal to be accepting, if you will. Doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with everything a person does. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything a person says. Those things don't matter. What it means is that I'm going to be a person that can not judge them for the things they do. Now, obviously, if they're a killer or a rapist or something, along those lines, that's very different. But just a normal person talking to me, telling me or telling me about their life, or getting to know about their life, getting to know about their family, getting to know about themselves, getting to know about the things they do. Just on that type of a level, I became intentional in minimizing, because we're all judgmental. People are just judgmental. But it became an intentional goal for me to minimize or completely remove any type of judgmentalism or judgmental, how can I put this? Judgmentalism, or a judgmental attitude towards people. I just wanted to have real connections with real people that didn't feel like they had to impress me, that didn't feel like they had to talk in a certain way or be a certain way or act a certain way. I just wanted to have those type of relationships, because I knew that those kind of relationships are relationships that last, or relationships that flourish, or relationships that really grow and become meaningful. And I wanted to have meaningful relationships. I wanted to have deep connections, not just shallow connections, not just hey, how are things going? How's the weather? Great sports, things like that. Those things are cool and all, but I'm not that kind of a person that likes to connect with people. I'd rather connect with people in a deeper level. And this may seem a bit intense as far as just opening up the podcast like this, but I don't mean to be intense at all about the situation or about the conversation. All I'm saying is that I am intentional in letting people know who I am. Obviously, that has to happen first, right? So they can let their walls down. And in that way, people let their walls down that I may get to know who they are in a genuine level, in a non threatening manner. Because we all have insecurities. We all have insecurities. We all are wondering if we're good enough from time to time. We all feel like at times that we have to impress somebody, or maybe we're too shy to speak to somebody, or maybe we're too insecure to speak to somebody, or maybe we think we're too good to speak to somebody. And I don't care about that. I don't care about that kind of attitude. I don't care. The way I view it is if we have to be that way to where we have to feel too good to talk to somebody, then we'll most likely have some insecurities. And I want to come up, sure, I do have insecurities, sure, but I don't have to let them control me, is my point. And so I say all that to say this. So throughout, I will say this also. Since I've been intentionally doing that, back to what I was saying, we're all judgmental, and some of us are much more judgmental than others. It comes much more easily and quicker than others. Um, and so I had to train myself and I had to become intentional in not jumping to conclusions in first impressions. People ask me at times what's your first impression of so and so? And I don't think like that because then I have to like really think about it. And I'm like, well, I don't think like that because I think it takes time to get to know somebody. That can be a first impression of who they're pretending to be or who they're showing you who they are at a surface level. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that is that person, if that makes sense. Even in a romantic relationship, I'm just convinced. You ain't got to be convinced like me, but I'm just convinced that it takes roughly 2 years to really get to know somebody. It may be even a little bit longer, but I think that's when most of the walls start to come down. And if they're a sloppy person, they're going to show you. It's more like the honeymoon phase is over in a relationship. And now you're going to get to know who they really are. And maybe they are that nice person that they've been showing you. But maybe they're a mean bastard, or maybe they're very selfish, or maybe they're very extremely insecure to where it disrupts the relationship. You begin to know who somebody really is over time, right? And so I'm not the kind of person that likes to judge people based off of first impressions. Unless they're an asshole, then that's different. But if there's no flags coming up, then I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to see them as anybody else. Okay, they're whatever they are and whatever. I'm going to give them time to show me who they are the next time I encounter them. And so I've made it intentional to not judge people based off of first impressions unless they're an asshole, like I mentioned. All that being said, if there's somebody in my circle who's new to my circle or new to my life, and there's a reoccurring not established, but if there's a reoccurring interaction with them to where we build some kind of a friendship or relationship or something like that, I already know the odds are they're going to come to me sooner or later for some kind of advice or some kind of input or some type of perspective or, something like that. And I'm okay with that because, like I mentioned before, I don't want to come across as judgmental, and I also don't want to come across as somebody who has all the answers. I know I don't have all the answers. But with that being said, oftentimes, many times, I'm surprised if it doesn't happen, to be honest with you. Many times, a friend or somebody will come to me and they will share, really pour out whatever it is they're going through. And the reason that is because I come across as non-judgmental. I'm not trying to judge them. I just want them to be whoever the hell they are around me and feel comfortable enough to be that way. And because of that, there's acceptance in that. There's a type of love in that. There's a type of connection in that. There's a type of unity and some kind of a bond in that. I may have not lived their life. I may have not shared their experiences. But when you get to a place to where you can be very raw and emotional with somebody and you don't even know them that well, at least for me, that means that I'm doing something right. And so I got this question, and I said all that to finally say this. I got this question from a friend. Um, and I'm not going to give you the context of how this question was framed because I don't have that context yet. Okay, I didn't. Here's what they asked me. Okay. They said, I'm working on building my self esteem, my self worth. How do you build your self value? Now, unfortunately, we didn't get into that conversation very deep because then there was a squirrel in the conversation and look at that and look at over there and what do you think about this and yada, yada, yada. But I thought about that and without knowing further context, see, because you can't just give the same advice to everybody. It has to be within the context of who they are, some of the things they've experienced, of why they're saying that exactly. It's all just little nuances that make a big difference. You know, all advice is not applicable to everyone. I believe that advice needs to be custom tailored per the person and their dynamic. But in a general sense, if I had to answer that question, how do you develop or work on your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-value? I would first have to say, well, how do you value yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you identify or define yourself that would give you the idea that you need to work on that? Maybe that your self-esteem or your self-worth isn't as great as you want it to be. How do you view yourself? And why do you view yourself that way? Do you view yourself because your upbringing, your family dynamic growing up, things that happened later on? Do you view yourself like that because of past relationships? Everybody keeps maybe telling you the same thing and kind of, it's very negative. Doesn't mean that it's true, but, you just maybe keep hearing the same thing because, in a lot of relationships, there's a lot of manipulation going on. There's a lot of self-serving. And there's a lot of people that want to make themselves feel better by putting somebody else down, especially a partner down. And so maybe there was a lot of that going on. That's why I said it doesn't make it true just because it was said by different people, especially people that are not in your genuine best interest. They might be in their own self-interest. And so, I don't know. There's a number of factors, Is it because of the way you grew up? Is it because of the relationships you've had that didn't work out? Is it because of both factors? Is it because you don't feel accomplished or you're comparing yourself to others? Is it because you're not where you want to be? Is it because you screwed up dramatically? Or maybe you screwed up multiple times? Or what's the framing around it? Like, why do you come to that conclusion? Why do you come to that conclusion? And the crazy thing, I'm going to say this, the crazy thing about the experiences that we have, the memories that we have, is that in many instances, but not in all, okay? In many instances, or in some instances, the experiences that we have, some of the memories that have shaped us that we have, they may have only occurred once, maybe twice, maybe a few times. But I'll say this much, something that sucks about memory is that a bad situation can be replayed in our mind over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if it's replayed too often, then it becomes something that becomes to be embedded in our mind. And it could reshape who we are. It could reshape how we see ourselves. It could reshape how we view ourselves. It could reshape our self-esteem and our self-worth. It could reshape so many things to where we now filter new relationships, to where we now filter the world, where we now filter ourselves based off of that situation, based off of that circumstance, based off of that scenario. So let's say I got mistreated once. That doesn't mean I'm only going to experience it once. I might experience it by the end of the week 20 times, by the end of the month 50 times or more or less. I don't know. It all varies, just depend on the severity of it and how we deal with it, how we cope with it. But the crazy thing is that in our mind, our mind really doesn't know the difference between real and fake as long as it's constantly being replayed in our head. If it happened to me once, that doesn't mean that it happened to me once in my mind. It could have happened to me 3 times a day, 5 times a day, 10 times a day, 20 times a week or more, whatever the case may be. It's all different for every one of us, but we are reliving that over and over and over and over and over and over again and asking ourselves questions, most likely. And you think that's going to help our self-worth and our self-esteem? Absolutely not. So without knowing the specifics of the framing of that question, how can I build my self-worth? How can I build my self-esteem? How can I build myself the value of who I think I am as a person? You first have to figure out, okay, how do I see myself? And you got to be honest, and that can be painful. That can be very painful at first because people can hurt us. But when we hurt ourselves, that cuts very different. And to write down how you view yourself, that can be painful. That can be painful. And a lot of us don't want to do it. A lot of us, we shy away from that. A lot of us, we just not interested in that. We don't want to view ourselves in that light. We don't want to be honest about how we view ourselves. Whether we see ourselves as a failure, whether we see ourselves as a screw up, whether we see ourselves as a bad person. And that's really hard to say because nobody wants to be a bad person. But here's what I want you to understand, okay? Just because you write it down doesn't make it true. All right? Just because you write it down does not make it true. And so what I would say is, write it down, write, be honest, be real with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't over exaggerate. Don't underplay it, but just be honest with yourself because you're doing this for yourself. Okay? And if you want to bring healing to yourself, you got to be honest about where you're at. You got to be honest with yourself about where you're at. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, don't think you're going to be honest with anybody else. It ain't going to happen. It is not going to happen. If you cannot be honest with yourself, the one that you live with 24/7, then how do you expect to be honest with anyone else? And I think honesty with oneself is freedom. That is freedom right there. That is liberation. That is freedom. That is some type of emotional freedom. Yeah, it may come with baggage, but you're getting to a place to where you're going to begin to find healing if you keep moving forward. And so I would say write down those things. They may not be honest, but you're just saying, okay, I think this way about myself. I come from a horrible family. Maybe that makes me horrible. I had these horrible experiences, so maybe I deserved it. If that's how you feel, I'm not saying that that's how you should feel, but maybe that's how you feel. That's how you feel. I feel like shit, when I was treated this way, whatever, that makes me feel worthless, this experience. So now I view myself as worthless. I think I'm stupid because I didn't do good in school. Or maybe you don't think you're stupid because maybe you think the school is stupid, which is fine, whatever. But just be honest about I feel this way, I look at myself this way, I look at myself that way. Okay, now ask yourself now what helped shape these thoughts? What helped shape this perspective? Because you got to have an idea of where it came from. You got to have some kind of an idea of where it came from. You can't just say to yourself, well, I don't know, it just came from thin air. Odds are it did not. Odds are something happened, and then you interpret it in some kind of way to mean, well, this must mean that I am this. If I got treated like shit, then maybe I am shit. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't make it true, but I'm just reiterating some thoughts that some of us might have. Okay, write it down. Write how you identify yourself. I see myself as this. I see myself as that. This is why I have low self-esteem. Yada yada. This is why my self-worth is so little. And then write down what helped shape that. And yes, this is writing exercise. You got to do this. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. If you want things to change, then you got to do things that will help progress that change. Okay. This is all going to pay off. All right. This is all going to pay off. So you write where you are. You write how you got there. Now write where you want to be. And what does that mean, where you want to be? Well, first, let me back up. Now you need to understand that those experiences, they don't validate how you view yourself. It may be easy to understand why you view yourself that way, but they do not validate how you view yourself. In other words, just because these experiences happen doesn't mean that it makes the way you view yourself true. Okay? That just happened to be your interpretation of what those experiences meant. That just happens to mean, okay, since I was treated like this, then my interpretation is I must be this. That's your interpretation or your perspective, but it doesn't make it true. So then you also have to ask yourself, okay, when were times that I did feel good about myself? When were times or moments that I have felt good about myself? And if there were no times, well, then you probably robbed yourself of some good memories, some good emotions, because I find it hard to believe that you would have no good memories of yourself, of how you felt good about yourself, that they don't exist. Look back when there were times where you could feel good about yourself, when you should have felt good about yourself. Maybe something you accomplished. Maybe you got straight A's and whatever. Maybe you made somebody's day by helping somebody out and it made you feel good. You felt like a good person or a person that gives back or whatever it is. Think about some times that you felt good about yourself. You felt positive about yourself. And if that doesn't register, think about times where you should have felt good about yourself, when you did do something that you should have been proud about, that you should have been pleased for, or pleased about, that you should have been grateful about. Think about those times. Think about how you felt during those times. Write those times down. If you have to write down those emotions, if you have to write down those thoughts, I would do it. Write down those thoughts of how you viewed yourself at that time, even if it was for a brief moment. Wow, I am a good person. Wow, I am nice. Wow, I do care. Wow, I'm not stupid. Wow, I did this, so it makes me feel smart. It makes me feel accomplished. I accomplished something. I finished something. I set my mind to it, and I'm doing it. I am making a difference. Whatever those feelings are, write those down. And after you write those down, don't forget about writing down the experiences that helped shape that view. Okay? Don't forget that. So first you're writing down the negative, then you're going to write down the positive. You're going to search for things. And I want you to stack up those memories. I want you to stack up the good ones. I want you to just stack them up, stack them up, stack them up, stack them up. If you bought somebody lunch, stack it up. That was great. Sure, it was a little thing, but that was great. That counts for something. Maybe you gave an old lady a ride, or your grandmother or grandfather, whoever it is, a ride to the store, or you got something for them. They didn't have to get it themselves. You went out of your way for them, or you brought them food, or whatever it could be, or you helped somebody out with money, and you knew they weren't going to pay you back, or even if you thought they were going to pay you back, you still helped them out. That's a gesture of kindness right there. Okay, just start stacking those positive memories, those positive emotions, those positive moments. Just stack them like crazy. You can't overdo it. Okay, you cannot overdo it. If you have a page of negative emotions and negative feelings towards yourself, you better have 5 to 10 pages of positive things. Okay, about yourself. I need you to flood your memory with positive things, okay? Because what we want to do is we want to drown out the negativity. It's there, but we want to drown it out. We want to consciously and intentionally drown it out, okay? Because what you've been doing is drowning your thoughts and your brain with all these negative things. But now we're going to flip the switch. Now we're going to be like, okay, I see myself this way for all these years. And it's because of these experiences. But just because these experiences occurred and they helped shape how I see myself, that doesn't make it true. So that's the first thing you got to knock down. It does not make it true. It's been my interpretation, but my interpretation has not helped me. And if you feel like you need to develop your self-worth, it's because you know that you are worth more. Think about that. You're not going to have that desire to build yourself up if you didn't think that you were created or here for more, right? If you settled for that and you're like, you know what, I am a piece of shit. You know what, I am a good for nothing. You know what, I am a loser. Then you wouldn't have this desire to want to come out of that emotion, to come out of that experience. But because you have that desire to come out of that, because you have that desire to want more than that, to just settle for that mediocre existence, and it's mediocre because you feel like it's a standard that you don't want to settle for any longer. Because you have that feeling, because you have that emotion, because you have that desire to want to pursue a better self-esteem, a better self-worth, to build yourself up more. You got to use that. You got to leverage that. You got to leverage the hell out of that and really pursue developing yourself, really pursue building yourself, really pursue investing in yourself, because you are your greatest investment. You are your greatest investment by far. Nothing and no one else comes close. Nothing. Because the health of your mind, the health of your spirit, of your soul, of your being, the health of you will affect everything in your world. And if your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, if those things get better, guess what? Your world's going to get better. It's going to get better. Things are going to become more clear. Your life's going to become more happier. It's just going to get better. And so you got to leverage the hell out of, you got to recognize, okay, if I want more for myself, then that must mean that I am worth more. And what I've been hearing, all these negative things, what I've been hearing, these are all lies. These are not truths. And if they are like, when you begin to recognize, there's a beautiful thing. If those things are indeed lies, all those negative thoughts that have flooded your mind for years, if those thoughts, if those identities, if those things are lies, and they are lies, if they are lies, then what I want you to now do, I want you to write, I don't know, write the strongest lies that you've been believing on one side of a sheet of paper, okay? Draw a line down the middle of that paper, and on one side at the top put lies. And then write the most significant lies that have been shaping your thoughts and your life. I'm a woman. I don't deserve to get paid as much. I don't know. I'm not a woman, so I'm just trying to think. I'm uh I don't know. I'm kind of lost for words right now. I'm unlovable as a man. Whatever it could be. I don't know what lies have been shaping you. I don't want to go down the list either, but write lies on one side and then write those lies that have been impacting your life. Okay. And then on the other side of that line, remember you drew a line down that sheet? On the other side of that line, write truths or truth. And what I would then want you to write, so let's say on the first line of lies you wrote ugly. This is just an example. On the other side of that line, at the same level, you got lies here, then you have the first lie, maybe it's ugly. You have truths here. I want you to write the opposite, beautiful or handsome. Then you have another line. The next lie, maybe it's stupid. I don't know, stupid. Write down on the other side, what's the opposite of stupid? Smart. I want you to just go down that list of lies and write the opposite of those lies on the other side of that sheet of paper. If those things are lies, then the opposite must be truth or something close to truth. Right? And I need you to now believe and invest your time in those truths. I need you to now identify, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? How do I want to feel about myself? If I feel like I deserve shitty people in my life, how do I want to feel about myself? Do I still want to view myself as a person that accepts shitty people in my life, accepts people that hurt me in my life, accepts people that manipulate me in my life? Is that what I want to accept? Or do I now want to accept people that can be honest with me, people that see value in me, people that build me up, people that see my self-worth, people most likely will have their own self-worth or see themselves as beautiful, not in an arrogant manner, but in a, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? And so you want to look for the people that feel confident in areas that you like. Not arrogant, but confident in areas that you like, that you admire, and maybe become friends with them, maybe spend more time with them. You want to be around those kind of people that will build you up, that are not insecure to where they're going to tear you down, but they want to build you up. They want to build others up because they have built themselves up, because they have believed in themselves in this kind of capacity or in this kind of manner. And somebody who has taken the time to build themselves up, they don't feel threatened in seeing others built up. They don't. And so you go from this place of where you have a low self-esteem, low self-value, low self-worth, and why, to where what you want to become. And why? Why do you want to feel those things? Why do you want to be that way? There's no wrong answer. Might be a funny answer every now and then, but there's no wrong answer. You don't have to share this with anybody else. But this is why I want to feel this way, because maybe it has to do with health or fitness. I want to feel good about my health. I want to feel good about life. I want to have more energy. If it's something along the lines of having a healthy self-esteem, I don't want to put up with people, but focus on the positive, because I want positive people around me. I want people that that know how to treat a person good. I want people that can support me. I want people that have ambitions. I want people that have their own goals. So that way, if I achieve something, I don't have to worry about telling them, "Hey, guess what I did?" or blah 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 or whatever it could be. Guess about the win that I had. I can say, I don't have to double. How can I word this? There's people in your life. I'm sure we've all experienced this. There's people in your life to where you don't want to tell them good news because they're gonna shit on your parade. They're gonna say, "Well, what about me?" And "Gee, lucky you." And "Well, what I'm going through is yeah, yeah, wah, wah, cry, cry." You don't. They're the negative Nancy's or negative Neds or whatever they're called. I don't know. They're negative. That's all I can say. And not only that, but they're the kind of people that they do become jealous if their friend is winning. They do become envious. They might start to hate on them, and you don't want to be around people like that. Because those people are too insecure. They're vampires of joy. They're vampires of happiness. They like to suck the life out of joy and out of growth and out of progress and out of someone making it better for themselves. Those are life suckers. And so those are not the kind of people that are going to build something with you, build a healthy relationship with you. So you don't want to focus on what you don't want, but you'd rather focus on the things you do want. Because in life, whatever it is you focus on, you're going to get it. Now, so if you're focused on something like, well, I don't want to do this no more, and all you're focusing on, let's say you have a problem with drinking, okay, as an example. And all you're focused on is, I don't want to drink, or you have a problem with smoking, or you have a problem with anything else. Just name it, A, B, C, D. Whatever it is, I'm just going to say drinking because that's the first thing that came to mind. Let's say you have a problem with drinking, okay, and you want to stop drinking, right? You're not going to stop drinking by focusing on not drinking because you're still focusing on drinking, right? Sure, you might put the word not in front of it, but you're still focusing on drinking. If you want to accomplish something, you have to focus on what you want to accomplish, on where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. And so you want to put your focus on things that you want in your life. So if you're trying to build your self-worth and your self-esteem and you want a better emotional relationship with yourself, you want to begin to forgive yourself about some things. You gotta think about these things. If you want to build your wealth, if you want to build better relationships, that may take some time because this new self-esteem path is new to you. But be patient with yourself. Have grace towards yourself. Forgive yourself for mistakes you're going to make because you're going to make mistakes. You're a person and this is new. But be patient with yourself along this journey because you're going to get to know yourself in a different way. You're going to get to know this person in a new way. The person that you have been is somebody that you're not happy with, this low self-esteem person. And so you're trying to get to know this new person that is growing their self-worth, their self-value. And you're going to make some mistakes along the way. But just be gracious with yourself. Don't allow those mistakes to define who you are. Just learn from those mistakes. Say, okay, that was stupid. Next time I know to do this. Or darn it, I missed up on an opportunity. Next time I know to do this. Whatever it is, I don't know. But you're going to learn from those mistakes and you're going to build your self-worth and your self-value. And you need to flood your mind with who you now are. Who you now are. You need to flood your mind with it. If you got to talk to yourself, I am pretty. I am smart. I am interesting. I am outgoing. I don't know. Whatever it is. I don't know what's on your list. But whatever it is that's going to help build your self-esteem. I am worth more. I am, let me think of some of the things that I tell myself. I say I'm smart. I do say I'm sexy. Yes, I say that. Um, I do say I'm charismatic. Um, those are things that I want. Not saying that you have to be those things or want those things. I am thoughtful. I am an amazing listener. Um, I listen first before speaking. Um, I am open and receptive to others and other people's experiences. I am open minded. Uh, I have a great connection with my maker. I'm a fast learner. I can do whatever I set my mind to. These are just some of the things that I say to myself because I can't. I'm trying to think of imaginary ones, but whatever. I am thoughtful. I am caring. What else? Hmm. There's a lot of things, but I don't want to say everything. That's a bit too vulnerable there. A bit too open. I don't know, but you get the picture. And so you want to, if you got to tell yourself these things, if you got to write these things down and read them to yourself out loud, then do that. But what you're doing is you're conditioning your mind because your mind has been conditioned to think negative about yourself. Now you're conditioning your mind to think positive about yourself. And you want to do this every day. You want to do this every day. You ain't got to do it all day long. But I'm telling you, when you begin to do this and when this becomes your focus, you're going to start to believe it. This is not fake it till you make it. I don't know what that really means, but this is not fake it till you make it. This is conditioning your mind. You're not saying to yourself, okay, I'm not these things, so I'm being fake. So let me just pretend to be those things. No, you're not. You're conditioning your mind because your mind is going to believe whatever you tell it. Okay? Your mind is going to believe whatever you tell it. And so you're conditioning your mind. You're reframing your reality. You're reframing your existence. You're reframing your thoughts. You're reframing the self-talk that you have towards yourself. You're being conscious about it now. Before, all those other things were subconscious. But now that those subconscious things are now brought to the light of day and you wrote them down, now they're no longer subconscious. Now it's no longer a hidden broken record. Now it's an exposed broken record. And what we want to do is we want to interrupt that record. We want to just scratch it up. We want to just disrupt it. And we're going to play the record of choice. We're going to play the music of choice. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm handsome. I'm caring. I'm thoughtful. I'm intelligent. I'm a fast learner. Whatever it is, I can do whatever I set my mind to. I'm not lazy. I got energy. Whatever it is, I don't know. But you want to condition yourself until you begin to believe these things. And you will believe these things if you continue to do it. And not only that, find things that can affirm these things, okay? Start with little things. Start with little things. And you're not going to win every little circumstance or every single experiment, okay? But find things, just little things, because you just want to make baby steps along the way. You just want little baby steps along the way, right? Just little steps. So that way, you're reinforcing those things, okay? And you're not, like I said, you're not going to win every experiment, every circumstances. That is not the goal. Progress is the goal, okay? And as long as you're progressing in the right direction, sure, you're going to slip up from time to time. Sure, you're going to have the negative thoughts still there, especially at first. You're going to be at war. You're going to see how much of a war there is for your mind. It's amazing because I've done this to myself. It's amazing about the war that's going on in your mind. It's just the negativity. And then you're like, no, but I want to think of this and that and the other. And at the same time, it's like, but what about this? What about that? Don't forget you're a loser. Don't forget you're stupid. Don't forget you're this, that, and the other. And so, but be consistent and intentional about it. And you're going to notice that you're going to win that war. Now it's a conscious war, okay? And you're declaring war on your mind is what you're doing. But you're going to get yourself to a better place. You're going to get yourself to a better place. And sometimes along this journey, we ask ourselves in the negative spin of in our negative mindset, we ask ourselves a lot of times, why? Who the hell knows why? You might eventually find answers to the why, but is that going to really make much of a difference on your mind? Odds are it will not. You're looking for that closure. And will closure give you what you need to move forward? Odds are it will not. And so be at peace with that. Be at peace with that and say, you know what? I'm not going to have closure right now about this. But who cares? Let me now focus on things that I can control. And I can control the direction that I want to go. I can control how I want to feel about myself. I don't have to listen to all the lies that I've been hearing all this time. I can now be good to myself, nurture myself, take care of myself. I can now put myself first and build myself. I can now take care of myself. And in taking care of your emotional and spiritual mental state, you're going to be conditioning your mind for a better you, for the best you, hopefully. And you're just going to keep on that journey. You're going to keep on that journey. You're going to keep on that journey. And I'm telling you, along that journey, experiment. Experiment with your mind. It's a really cool thing when you begin to experiment with your mind, because you can actually begin to see how much control you have over your mind. And if you can have control over your mind, then guess what? You can have control over your thoughts. And if you can have control over your thoughts, guess what? You can have control over your life. And you can now begin to shape your life. That's a pretty cool thing. That's a pretty cool thing. Because nothing comes to existence until it is first in the mind. Right? We all know that. Hopefully we know that. You ever said to yourself, I want to go to this concert? Well, you weren't there yet. But you did the little things you had to do to get to that concert, and boom, now you're at the concert. Or you ever said to yourself, I want to learn how to make this or make that? And if you pursued that desire, guess what? Next thing you know, you were eating it. Maybe it tastes like shit the first time you made it. But if you stuck with it, it's eventually going to taste the way you wanted it to taste, right? So those are your thoughts coming into reality. That's what that is. And so this is the same exact thing. You're going to bring your thoughts into reality. Sure, it may take time. It may take a little bit longer. But don't forget, you're worth it. You're worth it. You're the best investment. You're the best investment you can ever make on yourself. So if you could do those things, you're going to be off to a great start. You're going to be off to a phenomenal start. And read and listen to things that will build your mind, build your self-worth, build your self-esteem. You gotta flood your mind with good stuff. You gotta flood your mind with things that are gonna drown out the negativity, that are gonna drown out the noise. You gotta flood your mind. Okay? You're conditioning your mind. You're flooding it with awesome stuff that's going to be beneficial to you and everybody around you. And not only that, everybody's going to benefit from a better you. Everybody that you allow to come into your circle, they're going to benefit from that. But most of all, you're the one that's going to benefit from it most. So in answering that question, how do you build your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem? That's what I would say without having more context in the matter. That's what I would say. So, I want to say this about the podcast. This is obviously a new podcast. This is, I think, this is the 7th episode right here. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast or watching the podcast, you know that there's times where I have guests and I have off-the-wall conversations, right? And sometimes it's just guys being guys, and it's just hit and record. On this podcast, I'm not exactly sure what direction I'm going to go yet. I don't know yet. For those of y'all that know, I came from a different podcast. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to do that podcast anymore. But my first podcast was called Hello San Antonio, and I knew from the jump that I was going to be. I knew before we even started that podcast that I was going to have to start my own podcast. I just knew that. And some people have asked me, especially over there, or when I was, like some of the guests that we've had on there. Some people have asked me, why did you get into podcasting? And here's why I got into podcasting. Because others told me and kept telling me that I would be good on a podcast based off of the conversations that we had. They said, man, this would have been really good on a podcast. It should have been recorded or something like that. And I kept hearing that over the years. And I remember telling myself, okay, the next time somebody tells me that, I'm going to do it. And so I did it. I did it with Hello San Antonio. And that was a cool experiment. That was a lot of fun. But it got to a point to where I was like, you know what? I gotta do my own podcast. I gotta start my own podcast and just see what direction I want it to go. I don't know what direction I want to go. I kind of want to talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about with whoever. That's kind of the direction I want to go because I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of interests in a number of things, and I'm pretty skilled at a number of things, and that's honestly what makes it difficult to pick something. I'm not saying this to brag or whatever, but I've invested a lot of time in a number of things. So I put in the time in all these things, So it's figuring out, okay, what direction do I want to go? Because I have multiple interests. And quite frankly, I'm a person like anybody else who is complex, who is into different things. Am I obsessive over one thing more than the other? Right now, I don't know. I don't know if I am, honestly. I know I was certain times in my life. Right now, I'm not sure if I am. But I do have a unique life experience. One that it's unique. It is very unique, to say the least. And the different transitions in my life, those are all unique as well. But I'm gonna bring all those to the podcast, and I don't know what direction it's gonna go. I really don't, but I'm pretty sure, to say the least, there are gonna be different categories within the podcast. There's gonna be some where I'm just shooting the shit with somebody. There's gonna be some where I have guests and we're talking about serious stuff, maybe one topic or a general topic related to maybe philosophy or who the hell knows, something in the UFC or sports or whatever. I have a number of interests, and so that's the thing is that I'll find people, others that are interested in it, maybe experts, things like that. I don't know which direction this is going to go. That's why I called it the Bill Martinez Show, is because it's going to go wherever I feel like whatever it is I want to talk about, I want to talk about. But I do want to say this: if any of y'all, especially those of y'all that kind of know my background or know me, if any of y'all have questions or topics that you guys want to talk about or you guys want to hear on the podcast, let me know. Let me know in the comments, DM me or direct message me, whatever it is. Message me, text me, call me, whatever it is. And when I figure this out, or when the time comes, I'm eventually going to have live calls on the podcast. Because for 2 decades now, I've been helping people in different capacities. And so I'm a very people-oriented person. One thing I know about myself is that, over 2 decades actually, one thing I know about myself is that I love to help people. I'm not perfect, and I don't pretend to be, and I don't even try to be. I don't care for perfection. But I'm just trying to be me. And I'm trying to be as authentic as I can be. Because maintaining an act is going to be impossible for somebody like me. Some people have told me, you got to do this, you got to do that with your podcast, yada, yada, yada. I appreciate every great intention. Will I do those things? I don't know. Time will tell. But I'm just going to try to be me as much as I can be. So yeah, if you have questions, if there's a topic you want to talk about, or a topic you want us to talk about, myself to talk about, guests to talk about, Share that in the comments, direct message me, whatever it is, text me, call me, whatever. Um, there's a lot of things that I could talk about, but I'd love to hear from the viewers, see what they think, see what kind of input they have. And I've been having fun with this podcast. Um, we got to touch on some political stuff. We got to touch on just some bullshit, some guy stuff, different things, And most likely there's going to be more of that to come, obviously. I don't know how much of that, but more of that to come as well. And doing these podcasts alone, there's times where I do want to do them alone because I do kind of want to go off on the rails and just kind of spout whatever it is I'm going to spout about. I'm not scared of talking by myself or alone, I should say. But I love the interaction much more. That's why I'd rather have people on here. But, I can talk and talk and talk and talk for hours, to be honest with you. Even if it's by myself. But I want to make sure that I offer something to the viewer, some kind of value, some kind of entertainment or something. So yeah, guys, I want to thank you for listening in on the podcast. And this is the weekend before Halloween. Hopefully, you have a fantastic Halloween. If I don't post another pod before then, I still don't know what I want to dress up as. I do want to dress up. It is fun. I've only dressed up a couple of times as an adult. I was too macho for that, But that's kind of boring being that way. So I kind of want to dress up. Nobody wants to grow up, right? Anyway, guys, hope y'all have a fantastic podcast. Hope y'all have a fantastic week. And hopefully you gained something from this podcast. If you did, let me know. Don't be shy. Share it in the comments. Share with a friend, something like that. We all have self-esteem issues from time to time. Hopefully you're not stuck there all the time. But if you are, hopefully this podcast spoke to you. And if you have other questions for me, I don't know if I have the answers, but I could do some research. And just take it from there. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a safe Halloween. Have a fun Halloween. See you on the next pod. Take care, guys.